Even though the winter has been a common thread throughout 2026, it has been a wild start to the NASCAR Cup Series season. It's time now to hopefully settle things down a little bit in the desert. Let's take a ride down the back road and talk shop as the series heads to Phoenix, Arizona.
I don't drive a Monte Carlo, and my truck ain't painted black. It ain't got a big white number 3 turning left around the track.
Die-casting NASCAR fans out there, let's go!
Mile and a half away. These good hand dirt don't need no curb. I like in horses, I make up with 4x4. I'm in and out of traffic till I make it to your door. Checkers, wreckers, my right foot's hammered on the gas. I'm making my way to you, girl. Earnhardt Bass.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Backroad. It is In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. NASCAR Cup Series season getting into full swing. We're heading to Phoenix, Arizona this weekend for a race at the Phoenix Raceway. My name's Elliot Hicks. I'm a normal mainstay on this program. Got a special guest on the program tonight, guest host. We got Brian Twining. I know you know him from the Angle of Pursuit podcast, but Brian, yeah, you've been a valued commenter the last couple weeks, and happy to have you on as a guest host this evening.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here. I believe this will be the second time that I've been on the back road. First time with Seth either last year or the year before that, but it's cool to see how the show's progressed. I'm really excited to be on here in 2026 just to see the progressions, and I absolutely love the new intro, by the way.
Yeah, Seth did a great job on that, as well as the Earnhardt Fast song. I'll have to pull up who that artist was. I don't keep it in the show sheet, but shout out to him too for letting him use our song. Brian, real quick, I'll give you the opportunity to plug everything you've got going on and tell our audience the best ways to find you and support you.
Oh, cool. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So my buddy Kyle and I, we do the Angle of Pursuit podcast. We do 2 shows a week. We do a race preview, betting preview that usually gets released on Wednesday mornings over here on YouTube. And then we also do a post-practice and qualifying show, mainly focused on the DFS side of things, but also recapping our bets and rechecking the odds after we've got to see cars on track.
Yeah, definitely helpful, and something that thankfully we're able to do now. Of course, the show airs Thursday nights. We don't usually get practice and qualifying Thursday nights, but all the fun that I know you've just joined as well, all the fun everyone can have after the show, you can hop in the IBT Racing family. It's our exclusive Discord chat where it's free now this year to join the conversation with all of us, as well as enter into our memorabilia giveaways. I'll have to bug Seth on when our next one is. We just gave away the SVG diecast a couple of weeks ago. We've got some stuff to give away, so I'm excited to get it out to everyone who's a part of the family. The paid benefits for $3.99 a month or $36 for the year. You get the exclusive weekly betting model that our guy Chris Colicchio, as well as Seth and Ryan from My Fantasy Race, they put in the work, and it really helps us week in, week out. You also get access to the full weekly betting cards from myself, Seth, and Chris, and entry into the head-to-head matchups contest. Going well so far. We'll talk more about that at the end of the show. Other benefits that you get, of course, it's all of the big 4 that we have at IBT. You get to hop in the football family, the entertainment family, lots of fun stuff going on with Survivor 50, and the golf family. Golf getting back into full swing as well. Brian, I know you are a recent member into the Discord over the last couple of weeks. How you been liking it so far?
Oh, I love it, man. I think it's imperative for anybody that's enjoying the sport of NASCAR or trying to bet it or play fantasy or anything of that nature to get in as many Discords as possible. And the IBT one in particular is full of a great group of people. Rod, you, Seth, Chris, it's been a lot of fun since I've joined.
Hey, I appreciate the kind words, man. It's one thing when Seth and I are plugging it, as the, people who are creating it, but for some actual real life testimonial here, I appreciate you for that, Brian. Another fun thing you can get involved in is our new sub channel, _Backroad. It's where we're collaborating with on the live shows, as well as posting bonus episodes. This morning, Seth and I just put one out talking about the F1 season and the Australian GP, giving out our best bets for Formula One. That's the place to be as well for shorts that come out in the early part of the week, recapping how things went during the races. So shout out if you've subscribed over there. If you haven't yet, it'll be collabed with this video. You can go back to our previous live shows. It'll be collabed with that. Or if you check out the bonus content, or just go to youtube.com/_the Backroad. The link to that and all the fun in the episode description. I got to talk about what we're going to talk about on the show tonight first. We got a full lineup here. In the rear view, we will take a look back at the weekend from Circuit of the Americas as well as St. Petersburg. Exciting races there for trucks and IndyCar. In the Fast Lap news, we'll discuss the news items of the week. Horizon forecast, we break down all there is to know about Phoenix. And then in the parking garage props, we give out our best bets for kind of the real season opener. We had 2 super speedways and a road course to start off the year. Now we start to get into more of the traditional ovals. Thankfully, it makes things a little easier to handicap, and hopefully will continue to make us some money. The Cup, O'Reilly, and IndyCar series all there this weekend. And like I said, if you want to hear some F1 talk, you can go over to the bonus channel that we got going on. I want to shout out everybody here in the comments too. Our guy Marcus, generally first. Should be a good weekend for him. He's first again. Shout out in the comments, everybody. Who's your pick to win at Phoenix? For Marcus, he's a big C-Bell guy. Last spring's winner at Phoenix, has won the last 2 Spring Phoenix Cup races as well. Definitely a guy we'll talk about a lot this evening. Our guy Bob Bodner checking in as well, going with Bell. And yeah, Marcus is there too. Steph checking in a little under the weather, but appreciate you taking the time to comment and check it out. Bob also on Preece for a little upset, 65-1 the outright. Brian, I don't know if we're going to get that crazy, but definitely a guy that we will talk about later in the show as well. And hey, you're in the comments as well. Appreciate you for that. I only got the one screen here. I got to get a little screen going to be able to have a little bit of that going. We got Nick checking in as well, saying what's up. Appreciate everyone on the live show. Feel free to comment, throw in some questions if you want. Throw in those bets because, we will take any good bets that you guys have, any good lines you're on. So appreciate Bob and Marcus for throwing out some of their favorites. Shout out to everyone checking us out later on. We know not everybody's free Thursday nights, 8:30 Eastern to check us out. That's when we're live. If you're checking us out later, we appreciate it too. You can also stream the audio edition over on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review over there, whether you like it or not. We want to get your feedback and definitely need to start getting some micro giveaways out there because we appreciate you guys too, not just the people in the Discord, although safe to say they're kind of our favorites. All right, enough with the plugs here. Or one more, I guess. The easiest thing to do to support us, give this video a thumbs up, give it a like, and subscribe if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate it and greatly appreciate you tuning in for the show. Let's go ahead and get it rolling by taking a look back in the rearview.
Baby, that's how you do it. Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. You are the fans. No way! We did it! Yeah!
All right, so as I mentioned, we were split between the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, as well as the street course in St. Petersburg, Florida. We got to start with the Cup race because once again, it is Tyler Reddick, Michael Jordan, 2311 Racing, the storyline. They defy the odds and win for the first time in Cup history, the first 3 races in a row to open the season. Let's even put Reddick aside for the moment. How much fun is it that Michael Jordan is just having the time of his life at the track every week?
I think Michael Jordan's presence alone should be enough for people to get more interested in the sport. And the fact that they're being this successful here to begin 2026, coming off of an off season that saw them win a major lawsuit against the sport, it's just bringing more people back to the sport. It's bringing eyeballs that wouldn't traditionally even be looking towards NASCAR. I think it's one of the best things to happen to NASCAR in, I don't know, 2 decades or so. It's the best thing to happen to the sport in a really long time.
Yeah, it's really getting other eyes that wouldn't normally be talking NASCAR on NASCAR. So shout out to Jordan for that. He'll be at the track in Phoenix too, where Reddick is going to go for 4 in a row. But now to bring it back to Reddick, we know he's a talented driver, but last year really raised some questions. No wins for him, a year off the regular season championship, comes out, grabs 2 super speedways. And you were smart enough to hit the outright, I see here, as one of your winning bets for the week. I was not smart enough to give him the credence, but he's won at COTA before, really good on road courses, and was able to outduel SVG, Zilisch, and everyone else.
Yeah, Reddick coming into the year, I know there was a lot of talk about whether or not he was going to be able to recover from a down year. I know he didn't win any races, but he still finished 7th in the regular season point standings off of a season that was mired with off the track issues, both via the law and then his stuff at home going on. So clearly the talent was there. It was just him having some bad luck. And so coming off of two wins, yeah, you bet I was going to take a shot at that huge number, expecting him to go out there and qualify well. Did I expect him to be the best car in the race? Probably not. But I mean, here we are.
Yeah, I mean, we really saw that with Trackhouse. Of course, they were expecting to dominate the weekend with SVG and Zilisch. We did see SVG win the O'Reilly race through the deuces up, passing those couple of guys at the end of the race.
That was hilarious.
That was really good. But Shane ends up second in the Cup race. Connor Zilisch, as I said, I think the phrase I used in the short earlier in the week was beaten, battered, and bruised, ending up in a couple incidents there. Are you worried about Trackhouse and these guys on the road courses, or is this just kind of a COTA is a whole different animal? When we get to Watkins Glen in May, things will be different.
Yeah, I think when you look past the results, I think it's clear that Connor Zilisch is going to be battling up front in the remaining 3 road courses with SVG, the likes of Tyler Reddick, and then whoever else kind of pops from each different road course that we go to. Because, I mean, Zilisch was extremely fast there in that final segment, at times being the fastest car on track despite all the contact that was made. I mean, his drive from suffering that spin on that late restart and driving all the way up through the field to finish 14th or 15th, wherever it was one of the most impressive feats of the race all day.
Yeah, they definitely showed speed, just not enough to win it. Like I said, the O'Reilly race, SVG able to claim the win there. Some of the other winning bets that I had, of course, not on that Reddick outright. That was a good play from you. I see we both did hit Allmendinger top 10s. I had it at plus 125. You got a little better numbers there, plus 130, plus 145. And I did end up on the winning number over or under 48.5 at plus 155. But man, it's the near misses that kind of frustrate me. We'll start with COTA, where I had SVG and Reddick on the straight forecast. SVG first, Reddick second. I didn't know if I'd place the straight or the duel. I look, and unfortunately, I had the wrong side of that. That would have been a 12-1. Also was on the SVG outright and a parlay of his O'Reilly and Cup wins. Didn't quite work out for me, but hey, you have that happen sometimes. SVG came about as close as you can. And thankfully was able to hit a couple of bets. I was on Reddick over Christopher Bell as well, plus 140 that I see over here. Wasn't enough in the matchups contest. That wasn't the one I had. But again, we'll talk about that later. Looks like you have a couple of more bets you hit from COTA as well.
Yeah, so I had a McDowell top 10 that was still 2-1 post practice and qualifying. I believe it was over at Bet365. I know a lot of people aren't able to get down there, myself included now. And then there's one that wasn't on the sheet that I put in. I did play a William Byron over Connor Zilisch matchup that I got. I believe it was at like plus 125 or plus 130. I just thought that the number, sometimes you're betting numbers over drivers. You know, you've said it before. I believe I commented it on last week's show. And that was a case where William Byron had the best metrics of any Cup driver in terms of consistency coming into COTA. So the number was indicative of a play for me.
Yeah, I must not have caught that matchup. And the McDowell top 10 at 2-1. That's on me for not looking closely enough Sunday morning, because after P and Q, I was interested in McDowell. Byron top 5 didn't work out for me, but at least somebody was able to get some money on him.
Byron was pretty much a top 5 car.
Most of the race. So that's one of those where you handicap it well, but it still doesn't end up putting the extra cash in the pocketbook, you know? So it happens, man. Hey, St. Pete, really fun weekend as well. Alex Palou dominating in the IndyCar race, getting victory. Didn't watch all that live, but you know, Alex Palou winning an IndyCar is no surprise at this point. It's almost getting Verstappen 2021 F1 there.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He is the dominant force over there. Truck race, really exciting too. Lane Riggs ends up in victory lane. Thought he was going to run out of fuel. The truck is, again, beaten, bruised, and battered. But Lane, when we talked to him at Pocono last summer, he was kind of excited about the opportunity to go and drive on more road courses. Thought that he had kind of the speed to win there, because Pocono, when you don't run many road courses in the truck series, is almost the closest thing to a road course you got. He was able to get the win there, and shows that he does have some road course pedigree, leading him to continue to be the favorite for the truck title.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I feel like it's Lane Riggs and everybody else in the truck series this year. He's kind of taken over the mantle from Corey Heim, and had he been in the championship for last year, we might see Lane Riggs actually beat Corey Heim for the championship, just because of how fast that truck got in the latter stages.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He is the dominant force over there. One thing on the truck race, this was my only bet for the trucks. I had a Connor Mozak top 5. I think it was a 2-1. First stage, up there with Ben Rhodes dominating. Absolutely unbelievable performance from those guys. They were, I think, both 5 seconds ahead of the field. Non-competitive pit stops down in St. Pete, because all the crews are in Austin, Texas. Everybody comes down pit road, except for Connor Mozak. Non-competitive pit stops. You're not going to lose any positions. They keep him out. Turns what I feel like surely would have been a top 5 or close to it. By the end of stage 2, the truck is destroyed. He's in the 20s. ends up coming all the way back, I think, to 13th. But man, I feel like that's a lesson for these non-competitive pit stop races. Why are you going to keep a guy out there? That was just absolutely insane to me.
Yeah, that was Brad Keselowski-esque from, I believe it was like Michigan or something from last year, where he decided to stay out, or he decided to pit when nobody else was coming down pit road and gave up a bunch of track position when you shouldn't have done that. And just watching Mozak stay out during that caution had everybody scratching their heads as to what they were thinking, especially with the non-competitive pit stops.
Yeah, man, that didn't really make any sense, but still an exciting race weekend for sure. Any other thoughts on either the COTA or St. Pete races before we move forward?
Yeah, I will say I did have 2 matchups against Jeb Burton in the O'Reilly series, and lost one of them because of the late race restart, which I always say, when we get these late race cautions and have overtime restarts, that's where bets go to die.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I guess I can't ignore, because I'm on Austin Green every single road course. Didn't work out for him. I feel a little better. Well, I don't know if it's feel better or feel worse that he had transmission issues knock him out at the end of the race, that they didn't put out a top 10, or that he wasn't really a top 10 car all day. But the group bet that I had, neither of the top 5 really had a shot. So tough for my guy, Austin Green there. We'll have to keep an eye on him at the next road course and see if it turns out any better. All right, so that's enough. Taking a look back in the rear view. Exciting weekend there. We leave the road courses. We put them to bed, I believe, until May at Watkins Glen, unless the trucks have a weird one that I'm not sure. But anyway, fun weekend over there. We are getting started on the real season in Phoenix. Got some news to break down first in our Fast Lap news. I figure we start with the bad news and then go to the more good, exciting news. Alex Bowman out of the 48 car mid-race. We didn't really talk about that in the rear view because I figured we'd talk about it a little bit here. A couple of guys after COTA. Allmendinger needed medical attention. Eric Jones almost needed to be subbed out. Those it seemed like were cool suit related, and we kind of thought it was the same deal with Alex Bowman. Turns out he's been suffering symptoms of vertigo. I don't know if anyone out there has also experienced that. I've had an experience before, a little bit of vertigo while you're driving. I could barely go 30 miles an hour down the street, let alone rip around Circuit of the Americas or go on an oval at Phoenix. So once again, Bowman out of the car at Phoenix. Anthony Alfredo is the Hendrick Motorsports sim driver and will sub into the 48. I can certainly wax poetic about how disappointing that this is for Bowman, how much it kind of sucks to be an Alex Bowman fan right now. But we'll keep it on the more upbeat side. Really good opportunity for Anthony Alfredo to kind of show what he can do in some of the best equipment in the sport.
Yeah, this will clearly be the best equipment he's ever raced in at any level in NASCAR. And it's kind of akin to when Josh Berry had to jump into the 9 a couple of years ago and himself wound up with a top 10 finish here at Phoenix. I'm not saying that Anthony Alfredo is somebody that should be able to go out there and be expected to run in that position, but him being in the 48, he's a very experienced driver. He's ran multiple races here at Phoenix in multiple different levels. So I don't think he's going to go out there and be a backmarker by any means.
Yeah, it'll be neat to see how he's able to run. And again, after the speed weeks from hell that Alfredo had, I do feel happy for him getting this opportunity. Hopefully it's a speedy recovery for Bowman. You never know with this sort of thing. The concussion history that he's had could be a 1-week thing, could be something that knocks him out for longer. I certainly don't want to speculate. But, you know, as a Bowman fan, it's just disappointing. It's disappointing for him. Already was last in the standings after getting involved in 2 super speedway wrecks. And then now all that happening at COTA. Going to be a long, long road back. And very well could see a Hendrick car miss out on the playoffs this year due to this circumstance, which would be unfortunate.
The chase.
Yeah, the chase. Did I say the playoffs? Oh, man, I've been good with Xfinity versus O'Reilly, but playoffs, I've been messing up. Anyway, speaking of the O'Reilly series, everyone's favorite Cleetus McFarland has signed a multi-year deal with Richard Childress Racing, has 3 races currently scheduled for this year and I think next year too. That'll start off at Rockingham. He'll drive the RCR number 33, pending approval, of course. I don't know for certain if he's approved or not. And I can see both sides of this. His branding, definitely really exciting. He's got a huge fan base. And, I mean, despite what happened in the truck race in February, I wouldn't quite say that he's embarrassed himself. You know, that's something that could happen to any driver. But I definitely worry with Cleetus that it's almost too much too fast. The O'Reilly series is definitely really competitive. And I just don't want him to be put in embarrassing situations where a little more experience in the car could have helped him. I mean, Dale Jr. said on his podcast, hey, maybe go run the Cars Tour, run some more ARCA, really get your feet under him. But then again, you get a call from Richard Childress, you're not going to turn him down.
Yeah, and I think that's the big takeaway here is when you get offered the chance to take a ride in the O'Reilly series, or if it were to happen in the Cup series, if you turn that down, you're essentially telling them, like, I don't feel confident in my own racing, and you're probably going to lose opportunities later in your career if you have any aspirations of moving up in the sport. So I don't fault Cleetus for taking this opportunity. And like you said, I could see it both ways. I do think that this is good for the sport. I mean, again, going back to bringing eyes to it that wouldn't normally be interested in NASCAR is really important, especially right now as they're trying to transition back into the old school, like, hell yeah movement, but also doing so in a way that's trying to garner attention from the 20 to 38 age range.
Yeah, and that's an age range that NASCAR definitely needs badly. I heard a clip of Ty Dillon talking about this with Jeff Gluck. Of course, the Dillon brothers really involved in the leadership at RCR, saying he kind of moved the needle for this and kind of pushed toward getting him in here, saying that, of course, the primary goal is to get the eyes on the sport and just have a good time doing it. So it'll be exciting to see how it turns out. TK mentioning here, as long as he initially stays in the back, should be okay. Don't need to spin out running in the mid-pack. Yeah, and I mean, we've seen with his driving ability, he's able to kind of keep it in the draft, Daytona, Talladega. Ran all right at Bristol in the ARCA car a couple of years ago. In the truck test at Rockingham, I think he put it in the wall a little bit, but turned out all right. Again, he's going to be in decent equipment, and that may help him more than anything else. He'll have the speed to run up there if he can.
Yeah, and let me just bring up one more point. If we can have, like, the number 66 in the Cup Series racing when that car is a second to 2 seconds off even the minimal pace of a race, or Norm Benning jumping in the Truck Series, I would much rather have a guy like Cleetus who, yeah, maybe not in the NASCAR ranks, but he clearly knows how to get a car around, and now he's going to be in decent equipment too. I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table. And even if he does cause a couple of wrecks, Carson Hocevar, Ross Chastain, I mean, you have guys in every series at every level who drive with their heads on fire because they're going for race wins, and it brings entertainment to the sport. And I don't think it takes away from the integrity of it at all.
Yeah, I certainly hope that it goes well. It'll be fun to watch, that's for sure. Just a couple of months away. I think that's Easter weekend is the Rockingham race. So more eyes on the sport with the holiday weekend as well. Going to be a lot of fun to watch. I see some people in the comments throwing out some bets and things like that. Let's start to turn our attention toward the race weekend in Phoenix in the Horizon forecast. All right, so the entry list for the weekend, 36 chartered cars, as well as Austin Hill in the RCR 33. Of course, that driver swap, Bowman out, Alfredo in the 48. The O'Reilly Series, 40 cars for 38 spots. Chandler Smith in the number 5 car for Hettinger this week. Brent Cruz back in the 19, a little Grand Canyon University collab there. Rajah Caruth in this iRacing NASCAR 25, number 32. One of his, I believe it's 10 races this year that he's not in that Hendrick number 88. He's pushed to the 32. William Byron will be in that Hendrick JRM 88 this week. Daniel Dye in the other AM Racing number 52 car as well. Weekend schedule, of course, it's the IndyCar doubleheader with O'Reilly on Saturday and then Cup on Sunday. You can catch IndyCar qualifying 2 p.m. tomorrow, Friday on FS2. 7 p.m. the O'Reilly Series practice and qualifying over on the CW app. Saturday at noon Eastern, Cup P and Q on Prime. 3 o'clock, the IndyCar Good Ranchers 250 is on Fox. 7:30, the O'Reilly GOVX 200. Stage lengths 45, 45, and 110 over on the CW. And then Sunday, the big show at 3:30, the Straight Talk Wireless 500. Stage lengths 60, 125, and 127. And like I was saying in the intro, Brian, this almost feels like kind of the start of the real season. It'll be nice and easy to handicap things over the next couple of weeks. And I mean, I love super speedways. I love road courses. It does feel nice to kind of get back to a traditional oval this weekend.
Yeah, 100%. This is the first time where we can sit here and analyze practice and qualifying and be able to handicap it properly, while also being able to take this data and somewhat translate it into next week at Vegas, Darlington, and as we go forward to other ovals.
Yeah, so Phoenix Raceway, 1 mile shorter flat track. My fantasy race is usually where I pull this data from. Lists some pretty good comp tracks, a lot of data to pull from last year. The primary is probably Gateway, Worldwide Technology Raceway, as well as New Hampshire. You can also look at Richmond, Iowa, and North Wilkesboro as well. I feel like Wilkesboro might be a little short, but in terms of those other 4, Gateway, New Hampshire, Richmond, Iowa, feels like it gives you a good plethora of data to pull from and some good comparisons there from the other shorter flats.
Yeah, and I think too, it's important to note that with the increase in horsepower up to 750 once again in the sport, like we're going to be able to look at those past races to a certain degree, but this track is probably going to race a lot different. Well, I don't want to say a lot, but it's going to race a little bit different than what we've seen in years past. When you also factor in that we no longer have the championship race being held here at Phoenix, so it'll be interesting to see how drivers and teams, if at all, they adjust, like how intensely they approached this race.
Yeah, that kind of relates to this question here that Andrew B brought up. Do you guys think we could see some new players compete for a win this week with the jump in horsepower? I don't remember if this was in the offseason or the Daytona show or something like that. I feel like until we see a couple of these races, my response is going to be the same as it was then. I feel like it's really going to benefit the guys who are already running up front. Your Larsons, Hamlins, Bell at this place, Ryan Blaney. I feel like it's going to benefit them more, maybe put them more toward the front. But also people have said in the tests, it's extra horsepower, but how much of a difference does it really make, you know?
I mean, we'll see, because even at the test, though, it was only a few cars. They didn't really get a good feel for what it's going to be like in driving in traffic when you're having to back it down a little bit sooner because there's a guy that's backing it down in front of you. And so, this is the first practice that will really tell us who's going to have what on Sunday, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch. A couple people mentioning Preece in the comments, maybe like a Josh Berry as well. Those guys that are your short track drivers, they know how to drive a car. Not that the other guys don't, but there are a couple of guys that come to mind as guys with short track experience. Preece, of course, winning the Clash at Bowman Gray. I mean, if you're going to call North Wilkesboro a comp, you may as well call Bowman Gray a comp too. Some of those shorter flat ovals. Some other guys to watch, but yeah, I think it's going to be probably the main guys that are running a little quicker there, at least compared to normal, you know.
Yeah, 100%. The good call out on Barry. I know he's really popular in the betting space this weekend. I, for one, am staying away from him just because of the voodoo that seemed to be on the 21 late last year. We couldn't even finish a race. But yeah, him, Preece, even Cole Custer, I think might be able to kind of sneak in there and be interesting.
Yeah, and those are some of those tire wear guys to rise to the top, Andrew. So it'll be fun to watch. Let's talk about some other trends. You mentioned first year since 2019, the championship will not be held here. And that was one of the bigger talking points of this race every spring was, oh boy, we got to get our numbers right in case we're here for the title. I don't know if it'll affect how guys run, but definitely something that will not be a talking point. We'll be here one of the last, I think it's the third to last race of the year, but no longer the title race. And anyway, the format is no longer a one and done anyway. Average start position here, the all-time or the active driver leaders, not the all-time leaders. Chase Elliott, I think, though, is the active all-time leader. 6.8 average starting position. Larson's is at 7. Blaney at 7.4. Byron, 8.8. Hamlin, 9.2 in average starting position. Active pole winners, Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch have done it 4 times. Ryan Blaney has done it 3. Byron, Larson, Logano have 2 each. Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, Brad Keselowski, AJ Allmendinger with 1 apiece, though Bowman's not racing and AJ Allmendinger's was all the way back in 2010. I think it's kind of the same with practice. Qualifying really going to be important here. But the last driver to win from the pole, Joey Logano in the fall of 2022, you have 20.3% of the winners historically from the front row, just over 40% from the top 5, 60% from the top 10, only 4 winners from outside the top 20. So qualifying going to be really important too. It's going to be important Saturday morning for those guys to be dialed in.
Yeah, it's qualifying is going to be really important here, especially this year with the increased horsepower. And we don't have the weird option tire for guys who started in the back to be able to jump off strategy like we did last spring and make up track position and hope they could catch the caution at the right time.
Yeah, that's another wrinkle that won't be in is the option tire. I kind of forgot about that. I think Preece and Ty Dillon were guys who could have won the race if the option tire worked out well.
Thank goodness no more option tires.
Those wrinkles can be fun, but yeah, I like the old traditional racing. They're going to use the same tire that they used in the championship race last year, which, of course, we all remember Couple of issues with those tires, though. We'll see how that translates to the springtime and 2026 setups versus what we saw last fall. Active winners here. Joey Logano's done it 4 times, including 2 titles. Kyle Busch 3 times here. Bell and Hamlin have 2 wins. Blaney, Chastain, Byron, Briscoe, Larson, and Elliott all have a win here. In terms of overtime, 11 total overtime races here. 2 in the next gen, including last fall. We're already to the 9th next gen race here. As the years have gone by, we've been able to stack a lot of that. And I remember, 2022, 2023, had to put an asterisk on almost all of our data that we were pulling because, hey, it's a new car, be careful. Now we're really starting to bring it together. Since that Logano win from the pole in 22, 4 of the 6 winners have started top 8. Christopher Bell's 2 wins have come from P13 and P11. So Bell's able to come from outside the top 10 to win. The other guys have started up front, so you better be in those first 4 rows if you want a chance to win this race, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I think Christopher Bell and to a lesser extent Ryan Blaney, those 2 have been the only outliers in terms of they kind of come set up with the long run in mind, and they kind of sacrifice a little bit of that short run speed, which hurts them in qualifying. But come race day, we've seen them be able to drive through the field and do things that really nobody else has been able to do in the Cup Series.
Even though it is a paid feature, I do want to talk a little bit about Chris's betting model. Includes plenty of stats from Phoenix, as well as some of those comp tracks that we mentioned. No surprise here. Ryan Blaney blows everyone away. He's the number 1 driver. William Byron, Denny Hamlin, both close, though, in that 90% area. Only the top 8 break a 70% rating. So definitely one of those tracks where your favorites are your favorites. And those guys we just mentioned, Blaney, Byron, Hamlin, Bell also close up there. Those are going to be your guys that are the favorites going to be running up front, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's even without using a model, which I'm guilty of that. I tend to go off the cuff. I'm a manual note taker during practice and qualifying. Ryan Blaney is my favorite coming into the race for sure.
Yeah, Blaney, a guy we're going to talk about more as the bets come in. That betting model, as a reminder, a paid benefit in the IBT Racing family. Free to join the conversation and enter in the memorabilia giveaways. But to get that exclusive weekly betting model access, as well as full betting cards for myself, Seth, and Chris, and entry into the head-to-head matchups contest, it is a paid benefit. I'm guilty, too, of kind of going off the cuff a little more than looking at the model, but that doesn't mean I don't look at the model. The model definitely very important benefit. Chris, though, definitely one of those big numbers guys. I'm a little bit of both. And, hey, if you haven't been able to check out the model yet, well, we will make sure you get a look at that, even if we need to give you a little bonus link there to give you a look. We appreciate you being a part of the Discord anyway. Before we move forward, any other notes, trends, anything else regarding Phoenix that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think it's we have to keep in mind too. It's going to be pretty warm here this weekend. I saw a forecast in like the low to mid 80s on Sunday for the race, while it's going to be kind of in like the 70s during practice and qualifying on Saturday, because it's going to be early-ish in the morning. And so that's going to be a little bit different in terms of what we're going to see in practice compared to the race day and the tire pressures that they come set up with. And so, yeah, we're going to have to really dive into the data post-practice and qualifying to see who we think is going to be good.
And you mentioned before the show, you'll have a front row seat to it too. You're going to be at the track this weekend, yeah?
Yeah. I'm going to be at the track in the media center for work. Not angle of pursuit. My actual job. I get to cover the race, which is really cool. I feel really fortunate to be able to do this. This will be the 5th or 6th Phoenix race I've been able to cover, including the last 2 championships. So yeah, I'm really excited, especially for this one, to be able to see maybe we see another win by Tyler Reddick and continue history.
And that would be exciting for sure. Certainly would be a heck of a storyline for everyone in the media center there. Always super fun. Of course, we do the yearly Pocono trip, went to Dover a couple of years ago. Certainly a blessing to get to cover the races. And hey, everyone hopping in that IBT Racing family helps us get there. All right, so we know everyone's excited to get to the bets, but we've got to talk about our iFantasyRace.com asterisk mark driver of the week. And hey, we could go with some of those non-champion or any of the, well, I don't know why I wrote it like that. I wrote non-championship for.
No,
the championship for Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Chase Briscoe. The guys who didn't win the championship and the championship for all had some tire issues. And Denny Hamlin, of course, probably should have won that race. We're not going to rehash that. We kind of went in a different direction this week for the asterisk mark driver of the week, Brian.
Yeah, and I think you can also include Kyle Larson in that asterisk driver
True, yeah.
because he didn't win the race. He
Yeah.
won the championship. He became only the second guy to win the championship, not winning the race, and he did so while finishing not second either. So
Yeah.
that's another little tidbit there. But yeah, the asterisk driver has to go to Carson Hocevar. He was a top 10 contender pretty much the entire race until he wasn't. He finished 28th on the day, just a terrible finish for how good he performed during the race. He finished 6th in stage 1. He was 9th in stage 2, just exhibiting that speed that he's carried over into the beginning of this season. And then on lap 22, however, while he was running in 8th, he was one of the unfortunate ones that suffered a flat tire. He had a 12.2 average running position during the race, ranked 14th in terms of total speed rankings. And you can kind of see the trend of his speed throughout the day as he ranked 6th, 5th, 12th, and then 32nd after that flat tire took him out of the race there.
Yeah, Hocevar, one of those guys that was really surprising last fall. It was kind of those title guys and Hocevar right behind him. And I know we've talked a lot about Hocevar on the show, especially the last couple of weeks. Rod will certainly put a stop to that when he gets back. Hopefully he's doing well as well. But the man's had some speed. He's run up front, and we'll see. We'll see if it can continue. Again, another guy we'll probably talk about a little bit. Before we get to the bets, one more thing. I want to shout out our partners over at WannaParlay. They create fun and exciting competitions that connect people. They embody the joy of winning, the heartbreak of almost winning, and all the other emotions that you'll experience during competition. Comes from the brains of two former Kansas State college football players. It is all about stacking legs, competing with real sport lovers like you and I, and getting real cash wins every day. You can put a big time multiplier on your money and cash out fast. Hey, are you ready to get in the game and flex those parlay legs? Download the app now for iOS and Android. You can get a 100% match bonus when you use the code IBT at sign up. That's code IBT to get a 100% match bonus at WannaParlay. The link to that in the episode description, just like the link to all the fun we got going on here. The IBT Racing family, the bonus channel that we got, WannaParlay, everything you can ask for down in that episode description. But don't go digging too deep in there yet, because it's time to talk bets in this week's Parking Garage Props for Phoenix. So again, we're excited to hop into a more traditional oval. Going to be a fun weekend, all that sort of stuff. Both of our cards are kind of light, but I feel like we are putting our money in the right places. For me, it starts with a little boost that Caesars was kind enough to pass along. Christopher Bell's outright, I think, was at a base of 6-1, if not plus 650. They gave us a boost to plus 750 over there on Caesars. Why not take it? Pair of wins here, 6 top 11 finishes, 298 laps led in the 8 Phoenix Next Gen races. Had spring 2022, I think, was 13th or something like that, not quite in that top 11 threshold. And he had that brake issue the fall of 2023. I believe a brake rotor exploded or something, took him out of championship contention that year. But otherwise, one of the best at Phoenix. I know Marcus will be happy. I know Bob was tailing him. Christopher Bell is the place to start for me in that 20 car.
Yeah, I really don't think you can go wrong if you play one of the favorites, and in particular, Christopher Bell, or the guy that I'm going to mention as a lean heading into this week, especially if you get that boost price at plus 750. I mean, this is a guy that the last 2 springs has, I think, his number has shortened to about 5 plus 550 post-practice and qualifying in these spring races. And so you're getting a decent price on a driver that even the books know if he goes out there and his practice looks solid, it's really not going to matter where he qualifies, as we talked about, where he's won twice here from outside the top 10.
Yeah, 11th and 13th, the only guy except for that first next gen race to be able to win from outside the top 10. So, of course, if he starts 20th, it's probably not going to help. But in any case, Bell going to be fast. And hey, we got a little squad ride for our other outright too. Both of us on Tyler Reddick to go back to back to back to back. And ignore how fast they've been. And you can't rule out 4 straight. Toyota's really fast here, like we just talked about with Bell. They've got all the momentum on their side. They've got Jordan not just in the pit box this week. They've got him on the car as well. I got him at 14-1. You have him at an even better number, 18-1.
Yeah, this number even floated out to 20 after I played the 18 price, and I almost doubled down on it, but I thought best to not get too crazy here in the pre-week, but the number to me is just far too long. I mean, this is a guy who two springs ago, him and Denny Hamlin were the best 2 cars on the race, both leading a race leading 68 laps before getting into each other late in stage 3, costing each other a chance to go for the victory. When you look at last spring, Reddick was running inside the top 3 to 5 pretty much the entire race and looking to be maybe the best car on the long run before he had his power steering went out, and then he had a pit road penalty late in that race. And if you go back to his championship race, where he was the worst of the championship 4 drivers, he was still a top 5 to 7 car. And so to think that we're going to get a 18 to 1 on a guy that he's going out last in qualifying, something we've seen since they've changed this qualifying format to be a huge advantage. We saw how fast he was last week at COTA. We've seen how fast he's been at Daytona and Atlanta. If he qualifies on the pole here, you're looking at a price that's inside double digits, which is where he's around 10 to 12 at a lot of places as we sit right now too.
Yeah. Hey, in that case, I don't feel too bad about my 14 to 1, but an 18 to 1, definitely a good place to look to. And the thing with Reddick coming into the year, I probably would have said, okay, the super speedways, I don't know. The road course, maybe. Now's the time we're going to start to look at Tyler Reddick as being a factor.
Yep.
He goes out, wins the first 3 races anyway, and now it's like, oh, the 45 car. This is where they're supposed to be fast on tracks like the next 3 weeks, Phoenix, Vegas, Darlington. The 45 car, I mean, dare I say it, I don't want to go quite that far. Or are we thinking 6 in a row for Reddick when we get to Darlington? That'd be too crazy, right? We're not going to do that. Shout out to Bob as well. Had that 18 to 1 outright last week on him. Try again at 16 to 1. So, all right, we got a 14, we got a 16, we got an 18. And if he qualifies well, like you said, very well could be a contender for the pole going out. I agree. That number's probably, I mean, if he's the pole sitter, probably a 7 or 8 to 1, in which case 14, 16, 18 look really, really good for the 45.
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate reality though is that you can't cash out on your CLV, so that always stinks. But it puts you in a good place to be able to buy back on other drivers. If he does go out and practice good and qualify well, you can maybe get the same prices on a Bell or a Blaney that are currently in market right now.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. We'll go ahead and transition that. Before I talk about my Blaney placement prop, you were thinking of leaning towards his outright as well. It just sounds like
so when it originally opened, it was like 6.5, which is a number that I did play. It's currently at 5. I don't necessarily advocate for playing 5 because even if he does go out, looks best in practice, qualifies on the pole, it's probably going to go no shorter than 4, 4.5. And so you could probably just buy in then knowing what he has here this weekend. But yeah, as I said earlier, Blaney is my favorite this weekend. I mean, he leads the Cup Series in top 5s. He leads the Cup Series in top 10s. He's first or second in average running position and driver rating and pretty much every metric you want here at Phoenix.
Yeah, and I completely agree with waiting too. If you're going to, like you said, a plus 450 pre-P and Q, it's not going to really go down even if he goes out first in practice, first in qualifying.
Yeah,
you're still probably not going to see that, 3 to 1 maybe would be the lowest it would go, but it makes more sense to wait because then if he's not so good, he's going to probably be better in the race. You can get him at a higher price. I like that a lot, but I did jump on a top 5 here at minus money, minus 110 on Bet365. And that's the book that normally has the great placement prop numbers. So this was the best I could find it. Ben Blaney, he is the best of the best here. Slam dunk contender for the win, especially in that Dent Wizard car. I mean, I love that blue and yellow color scheme for sure. We're talking about Blaney at Phoenix. It doesn't really get much better. 5.8 average finish here in the next gen. And that's with a P28 last spring blowing a motor. Here is other next gen runs. I remember the conversation before he got that win last fall was, oh, he's done everything but win here. Overall, P1, P2, P5, 3 more P2s, and then a P4. So a top 5, as long as the car stays together, going to be just about a slam dunk for Ryan Blaney.
Yeah, and when you look at his overall numbers, he should have 1 or 2 more wins. I mean, he was the best car in 2024 when Joey Logano won the championship, but he let Logano win the race. And so it just shows you like how fast, or maybe that was 22. Whichever one it was, Blaney was actually better than his teammate, but he stayed behind him, allowing Logano to win the race and win the championship. So yeah, but Blaney, I don't call anything like surefire guaranteed type stuff in NASCAR. We saw it last year. We had the blown engine, but yeah, if there is anything close to that, it's Ryan.
Yeah. And that was in a stretch of Blaney last year where he was the fastest car week in, week out, blew a motor at Phoenix, blew a motor at Homestead. Darlington was on his way to winning the race before Kyle Larson, 1,000 laps down, decides to crash his car with 5 to go. A whole lot of problems for Blaney there, but he'll be looking to get to victory lane. He was really good at COTA too. Penske, I mean, I thought it was going to be super speedways. They were great. Road courses, they're not. That from Blaney is maybe the best I've seen a Penske car on a road course in years, Brian.
Yeah, I think it should open eyes and basically say that despite Tyler Reddick winning 3 races already this year, I would still have Ryan Blaney slightly ahead of him to be the championship favorite. The fact that he has broadened his skill set to be able to be a contender at road courses, knowing that he's good everywhere else on the schedule, I don't know where his weakness is at this point.
No, I don't know that he really has one. And if he does, it might be the super speedways, which is nuts to say for Penske. Jason bringing up a good point, as you also commented as well. If tire wear plays in, favors Blaney and Hamlin. Denny's not a guy that we have anywhere on our card, I believe, but I believe he definitely is going to have revenge on the mind after what happened to him last fall. And not to mention how he just ran so good. I don't see how that's going to change all that much from November to March.
Yeah, I might be the contrarian on Hamlin this week. I'm a little skeptical on him being able to put together the similar type performance with what was on the line last fall and what he was willing to do in that race or in those final few races to try to win that championship, especially here at Phoenix, a place where prior to that, I think everyone in the space would have admitted that Hamlin wouldn't have been a favorite against almost anybody going to Phoenix because it wasn't his best track. So he was great in the fall, but I'm interested to see how he transitions off of a pretty tumultuous offseason as well, and into a track that he was good at, but he doesn't have as much riding on it.
Yeah, good point. And hey, I wasn't confident enough in him to put him on the card at all this week. He was another guy at COTA. Really good run for him. Top 10 finish. He said it felt like a win there. I think it was one of the best road course runs in the next gen. A couple more placement props here. I'll start off with Carson Hocevar for a top 10, plus 175 on Caesars. The Spire cars, one of the big storylines, one of the things that we talked about a lot over the offseason. Is Spire actually going to have speed? They've come out, and all 3 of their cars are top 10 in the points right now. And Hocevar is the furthest back, I believe. I think it's Suarez, McDowell, and then the 77. We know the speed is there across the board. We know it's there for Hocevar. Last fall, it was he was pretty fast here, as we talked about in the Asterisk mark. And he's a guy that on the ovals, I mean, the road course is kind of a different story. On the ovals, I feel like the 77 is a guy who you can't ignore. We'll see how it works the next couple of weeks. He could be one of those guys, could kind of falter, but also could be going on one of those runs like he was in the early summer last year, running top 5, 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row. Maybe it's time that they're able to kind of extrapolate that a little further and have speed more often. I don't think I'm going to be on the Hocevar train all year. I am expecting a couple of down segments, but right now I'm thinking the 77 Inspire is still up there, feeling good. Hocevar is in a good spot. Plus 175, I'm digging the top 10 here.
Yeah, I actually like that play a lot. I don't usually tend to lean towards Hocevar in the top 10 market. I kind of go for the moon with him, knowing he is kind of that boomer bust type driver. So I don't hate actually laddering this and going into top 5, maybe even like top Chevy market if you could get the right price, knowing the type of speed that he can bring to the table. And you kind of have to get the numbers early before the consistency really starts to show on the ovals and the books start to adjust the numbers. Very similar to what we saw with Ty Gibbs last year. I know he kind of burned a lot of people in the betting space because, he had a lot of unfortunate results, but it's similar situation where he started off hot and it took the books about 2 to 3 races to really adjust his numbers to be unbettable. Whereas right now you can still get decent prices on Carson. Yeah,
I kind of forgot about that really good run of stretches there. I think his top 10s was down into minus money once he got like the Michigans of the world. So yeah, I know I bet a couple of those. Rod told me otherwise, and they didn't really work out. But yeah, important to get on the number while it's still good, like you say. And like I say, sometimes it's the number rather than the driver. I like the number and the driver for your top 10 play this week.
Yeah. I mean, Bob shouted him out earlier. Ryan Preece, top 10 plus 320 over at DraftKings. He's not somebody that usually people are going to gravitate towards here. He's the 3rd RFK car, but I think we can all agree that RFK as a whole, when 2 of them are good, you can kind of expect a similar type of performance out of the 3rd car. And for what it's worth, to me, Ryan Preece was probably the most consistent performer at the latter stages of 2025. And we come into 2026, who wins the clash on a short, albeit very short, flat track, Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece, his first season with RFK, he finished just outside the top 10 in both the spring and the fall race, despite not qualifying up near the front, something that he actually improved on as the season went on last year. So for Preece, for me, is somebody to keep an eye on. It's similar with Hocevar. We got to get the numbers now before the books start to adjust and realize like, oh, this guy isn't just the third wheel. He's actually as good as the 17 and the 6.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. That was the feel-good story of the year still so far, him taking the win at the Clash. Has some good Phoenix runs. And yeah, RFK at Phoenix, as I'll talk about it a little more in a little bit, one of those teams that I'm really optimistic for out in the desert. You mentioned Bob has him for a 65-1 win ticket. That might be a little rich for my blood. But yeah, at 65-1, I would have to agree with that too. Don't hate it. I'm not going to bet it, but I don't hate it either. Bob also mentioning won the quarter miler. He loves the short tracks. Maybe like a little more in a modified. No, actually, I don't know. Modified around Phoenix. I have modifieds around Richmond, but in any case, Preece going to be a guy to watch. Before we move forward, though, I want to bring up from Andrew. Any thoughts? Ross Chastain at a 22-1 outright. I don't really know where to go on this one. I feel like a lot of drivers, I'd have that kind of first instinct. I don't know if I have one on Chastain. How about you?
Yeah, Chastain for me, I think is somebody like bettors are still drawing back to him winning the championship race when he wasn't in the championship. And that was kind of like a one-off, holy crap, where did that speed on the one come from type of race. And I know he's been solid here. I just don't like the number without seeing him on the track, especially with their issues in qualifying. Chastain's had issues qualifying ever since he's been in the one car. And that's something that's really detrimental here at Phoenix, as you talked about, with all the winners coming from inside the top 10 outside of Bell. So for me, Chastain is a wait and see. I don't mind checking him out in like the placement markets, or if you can get good prices on certain matchups. Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah, with Ross, maybe bettable on an outright. Let's say he starts like 15th, maybe like a 28-30-1. I wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
22-1 though, a little short for me.
Yeah.
All right, so into some matchups now. Normally, I'm not a big matchup guy, but I kind of went a little heavy on matchups here. My favorite one of the week, though, and the one that I had to sub in for the matchups contest, Chris Buescher over Connor Zilisch at -130 via Bet365. First of all, the car this week makes me hungry. Nice little grilled cheese sandwich there with that Kroger fries promo. But so Chris Buescher, really strong at Phoenix here as well. Last 5 races here, P5, P2, P9, P5, and P12. It's a great track for him. And it's not the only Buescher on my card this week. Of course, you can see my full card in the Discord. And I'm very okay fading Connor Zilisch as well. He's a guy that, the numbers certainly have him as a much more popular championship pick, much more popular, even outright pick. I just don't think Zilisch is there. Clearly not on the road courses. I mean, whether it was the fault of his own or not, he had the speed, but there was no point in time at COTA where I was like, oh, Connor Zilisch is going to win this race, neither in the O'Reilly race or the Cup race. And the ovals, I'm, like I said, very okay fading him until we see some consistency build up. Even if you didn't have a guy with the stats like Chris Buescher, it's a good combo here for a matchup. I like Buescher. I'm okay fading Zilisch. -130. I mean, everyone knows I'm a big plus money guy. I like taking the long shots when I get the opportunity. For me to bet a -130 on a matchup, I got to be pretty confident in it.
Yeah, and I feel like you're definitely on the right side here. I myself am very similar to you in that I tend to lean towards the plus money matchups, especially before we see the cars on track. But Chris Buescher is as consistent as it gets when it comes to places like Phoenix like this. So yeah, I like this side. I'm right there with you in terms of wanting to see more from Zilisch before I tend to buy in on these traditional ovals. I mean, super speedways, that's only going to tell you so much because everybody's just riding around in the pack, fuel saving. So we don't really know what we got there. And also too, I think it's telling that last year in the championship race, Connor Zilisch wasn't the best car. I mean, he got bested by bested by.
It feels like they're teammates most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, like his best friend. I mean, he got bested by Jesse Love, and so obviously that doesn't translate. Completely different vehicles, but he's taking a step down in terms of quality of equipment in the Cup Series because he's not in the elite of elite stuff, going up against one of the most consistent drivers. So definitely on the Buescher side here.
And that's a good point too. With a young kid like Zilisch, you don't see a lot of those kind of mental challenges. I don't know if it's going to be a big roadblock for him or anything, but back to Phoenix for the first time since losing the championship that he rightfully earned, winning 10 races and making it to that championship 4. Again, we haven't seen it from Zilisch yet. One full-time season in the O'Reilly series and now coming up to Cup. Something else that I guess we can throw in as a factor to take Buescher. Jason asking us about a driver we haven't really touched on yet. Thoughts on Chase Briscoe? Of course, got his first career win here back in 22, has had some okay runs here, was closer than we might have thought to that championship last year, didn't work out for him. But Briscoe, a guy that it's almost kind of like Chastain, but in a different sense because he's more of a favorite to win. And I just don't think that his numbers are really where I like them right now.
Yeah, he's priced as like just outside the favorites when we don't really know what we're going to get out of him for a long run and tire preservation and all that stuff. I fully expect them to unload really fast. He's probably going to have a really good qualifying position, but he's probably not going to look the best in practice. And so the number is probably going to stay the same, maybe even get longer if you have guys like Blaney, Hamlin, Bell, even Reddick, who their numbers shorten, which is then going to open up value on other guys like the Briscoes in the field.
Yeah, but pre-P and Q, I'm probably not touching Briscoe here either. One more matchup bet that I have, manufacturer side, Ford over Chevy plus 110 via Bet365. My favorites this week are Toyotas and Fords. I've got the top 5 on Blaney, got the outrights on Bell and Reddick. Even if a Toyota wins, still easy to see a Ford, whether it's Blaney finishing ahead of any of the Chevys or one of those underdog types. Maybe Chris Buescher has a really good day. Maybe Ryan Preece runs out of his mind and beats all the Chevrolets. Ford over Chevy at plus money. I dig it this week.
Yeah, and don't sleep on the grandpa of the Penske team there, Joey Logano, another guy who's traditionally crushed here at Phoenix, albeit in the fall race for the championship, but he's also really solid here in the spring. And Joey's a guy who, I know the point system changed. People are like, oh, he's not going to have a chance, but don't count out Big Ball Paul and Joey Logano in any race that they've won before.
I would agree with you, but I think it is going to take now for Logano those Big Ball Paul cars and everything getting right for him to win races, because the last couple of years,
true, yeah,
other than when he needed to, obviously that was back to 24 now, when he needed to win races to advance in the championship. Last year we saw him win Texas, and I don't think he was even the 3rd or 4th best car there.
No.
I think the days of Logano winning a lot on ovals are kind of gone. So until I see him really get some race winning speed, Logano's not really going to be a guy that I bet that often this year.
Oh yeah, no doubt. He was one of the first guys that I shopped season long win totals on. Obviously the books were very aware that everybody was going to be trying to play his under, so they juiced it too heavily to play it. But I just think in terms of running well and being consistently inside like the top 10 or even cracking the top 5 at a place like Phoenix, Logano is definitely somebody to watch out for.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Hey, normally, before we get into this head-to-head matchup stuff, normally I'm excited to bring you guys some O'Reilly Series bets. It's a fun series to bet. It's a fun series to make money on. Neither of us have any picks for the O'Reilly Series this year or this week. For me, it's just a matter of I don't really know who's going to be the dominant force. There's that, and you have William Byron is in that 88. Yep. There's a chance he could run away with this race. Don't like the odds on him. Going to have to wait and see kind of how P&Q shakes out. But I feel like these O'Reilly races, it's going to take a couple of weeks to kind of figure out who the favorites are and kind of see the books balance themselves out. Otherwise, it's kind of tough to find plays at the front of the field.
Yeah, especially when they're pricing Allgaier and Jesse Love only a couple dollars longer than William Byron, who should rightfully so be the favorite for the race. I do think it opens up value in the placement markets where you can find them for top 5, or I know some books even do top 10 O'Reilly Series odds, which I think there's a good chance that you could find good numbers there. But like you said, we have to see these guys go out and race a couple of ovals before we can determine, okay, who are the real players, who are the fake guys, and of that sort before you start diving in headfirst into these odds for that series.
Now, see, I need the books to give us top 10 O'Reilly every week because there's a lot of value that I was able to find there last year. Not just Austin Green on the road courses, hit some Harrison Burton, Jeb Burton. Who's the other guy? Some of those mid-pack guys getting top 10s. I would love if the books threw those out every week. Haven't seen them yet this year, other than FanDuel had them for Daytona, which normally you don't see them for Daytona. Normally you don't see them on FanDuel. That was awesome. Any book out there, FanDuel, Bet365, whoever it is, bring him back. I'll bet O'Reilly top 10s every single week. There was one O'Reilly driver brought up in the comments. Bob is talking about Chandler Smith in the O'Reilly number 5 car this week. One of the only Fords out there. He's a guy that does have some Phoenix wins before in the Truck and O'Reilly series.
Yeah.
I just don't know if this car is anywhere good enough to have him compete here. 35-1, it looks like Chandler Smith's outright is. He would be a guy who I would think about maybe for a top 10, but we don't really know how this equipment is. The 5 car missed the race last week with a road course specialist driver who would have been making his O'Reilly debut, but still a guy who knows road courses could not qualify into the race in this 5 car. So decent enough driver, good track record at Phoenix. We just have no idea what's in this car. For me, Chandler Smith is definitely a no bet for me this week.
Yeah, and I think that's the same in the same breath of me talking about the 66 and Cup and Norm Benning and the trucks. Like the 5 car in the O'Reilly series, even more so than in the Cup series, is at a much bigger disadvantage against the top tier guys. I just don't see Chandler being able to have the pace to compete up front in this race.
TK mentioning Byron or the 17 car if he runs okay. 17 and 88 are the best cars differently. The 17 car, a guy we didn't talk about, but yet another mistake from Corey Day. Cleans out Connor Zilisch late in that race, junking the number 1 car. He and the JRM cars have not gotten along. They had to have a meeting with Corey Day saying, hey, man, we know you got the speed. We know you got the talent, but chill out. For me, it's just one of those things. Obviously, he's got speed, but he needs more seat time, and he needs to not race like a jackass out on the track. I don't know if you share that opinion or not, but those are my thoughts on Day after the last couple of weeks.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. He's got to tone it down a little bit, but at the same time, one of the most disappointing things we've seen in the sport in the last couple of years was when Rick Hendrick essentially castrated Ross Chastain. I mean, he was a breath of fresh air in the sport, and then all of a sudden he has this talking to, and he seemed like he had lost his edge. And it's something we're experiencing right now with Carson Hocevar. I mean, would you rather have a guy going out there making all the moves that he feels are necessary to try to win a race, or doing what Kyle Busch did at the Daytona 500 and throttling down and falling to the back just because he doesn't want to get involved in the wreck and settle for a top 15 finish? I mean, personally, I want to see guys going for wins. If you collect other people, so be it.
Yeah, and with Hocevar, there are a lot of people that are still kind of trying to shoehorn him into that 48 car, even though he signed a contract extension into the next decade with Spire. I think that you mentioned the word castration. I don't know that Hocevar and that Hendrick sort of castration they give their drivers will get along. And Spire gaining speed, I think Hocevar and Spire really are a match made in heaven. It's not just me playing I want Bowman to keep the ride car. It's Hocevar is going to want speed and want to be Carson Hocevar, and Rick Hendrick will not let him be Carson Hocevar.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Rick Hendrick wants to win races more than anything, but it just doesn't seem like Hocevar's personality fits what HMS is trying to put on the track.
No, I would agree with you too. Jason bringing up Byron in that 88 car, definitely going to be tough. And yeah, we got to wait and see if he just puts the whooping on everybody or what happens. So maybe if they put up some odds pre or post P's and Q's, we might have a couple of bets flown in the Discord, but right now, kind of a no bet. I do want to plug that Discord one last time here. Free to join the conversation with all of us. Free to enter the memorabilia giveaways when they come along. Exclusive weekly betting model access is a paid benefit, as are the full betting cards and entry into the head-to-head matchups contest, which rounds us out. Congratulations to Chris Colicchio. He was the only one of us that hit a matchup last week to take a one-race lead in the standings. Had a Ty Gibbs over Bubba Wallace, the only one that hit. I remember those odds got longer as the weekend went on, and I kind of wanted the Bubba side of it, but Ty Gibbs was able to hit there. None of the other matchups worked out, but for myself, for Blurry Kyle, for Lars, we are just one race back. You have Blaze Wolf, Trav, Jake, Rod, with one on the board at least. Seth still has the goose egg on the board, as well as everyone else with nothing. So, Chris, good call there. We're going to try to catch you this week. My pick was going to be a Bubba Wallace over Alex Bowman matchup that was minus 120 on Caesars. Going to assume that's going to be voided now. I would definitely take it over Alfredo. But my thought process there, Bubba running really well, 23-11 running really well, Bowman not having a lot of luck on his side, not really a good track for Alex. But Alex isn't racing this week, so I am just going to substitute in that Buescher over Connor Zilisch in the matchups contest, a minus 130 on Bet365. That's my official submission, as well as something I've got some coin on. I remember the matchup I had. It was a Chastain over Allgaier in the O'Reilly series at COTA last week. Thought it was looking good when Allgaier had a flat late in the race, gets a caution, ends up, I think, one spot ahead of the 32. So it didn't work out for me. Hoping this week goes better. I see you just threw a matchup in as well. Who do you have in your head-to-head matchup contest pick this week?
Yeah, it's been really difficult finding head-to-heads that I'd be interested in playing this week, but I do think that this is priced a little bit longer than it should be, and that's going to be Christopher Bell even money against Denny Hamlin at Bet365. To me, this should be even both ways, or it should be -110 or -115 both ways. I mean, we talked about it. Christopher Bell has been the spring king here in Phoenix in the desert. I know Hamlin looked fantastic in the fall, and I know books are pricing him based off of that and the same tire that we're running. But again, I have a little bit of worry about the intensity that Hamlin's going to bring to the table this week, because it's nowhere near what he was going for in the fall. So give me Bell, the 2-time defending spring race winner here, at even money against Denny.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I don't know why this isn't one of those kind of toss-up -115s. Even money on Bell over Hamlin, probably a good value. And this is one of those fun ones where they very well could be running first and second, or second and third. But all you got to do is have him finish ahead of Hamlin. Maybe he'll be celebrating a victory, make me some money on the outright, give you a point in that head-to-head matchups contest. Sounds like the best case scenario. Hey, and then our guy Marcus will be happy, as well as who's that? Money on him as well. That's what's most important, right? All right. So hey, this has been a great show tonight. Going to be an exciting race weekend in Phoenix. Thanks again, Brian, for hopping on the show tonight. Let all our viewers know once again how to best support you and what you got going on.
Yeah, you can just give me a follow on the X machine there at Brian_Twining. I'm sure I'll be retweeting our Angle of Pursuit podcast stuff over there on YouTube. You can subscribe to our channel. Again, we do 2 shows a week. We're constantly throwing out like promotions for you guys, IBT, other creators in the space. I mean, our buddy Ryan over at iFantasy Race, fantastic stuff there. And then I also do content for work, which is produced at bleachernation.com. I'll be at the track this week doing driver interviews and all that type of stuff. So maybe be on the lookout for that stuff. But yeah, thanks again for having me on. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I always love talking shop. I'm very excited to get into the crux of our schedule and real racing.
Yeah, it'll be exciting for sure. You guys do great work on the pod, and excited to see all your at-track content this weekend. And hey, if you want to talk some F1 too, you can subscribe to our channel, _Backroad. We're into the real racing season now in NASCAR. F1 getting started this weekend at the Australian GP. And hey, come Monday, Tuesday, hopefully not Wednesday morning, hopefully Monday or Tuesday, you can get a little YouTube short going. I'll recap everything that was to recap about the race weekend and kind of bring you back here to the back road. Appreciate you guys taking a ride through that desert, through the back road with us. Watch out for that cactus on the side of the road. Don't let it mess up your bets. Hopefully they all turn out well, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.